Okay, let us continue our satsang and discussion, and now eternal, never-ending question about Khechari Mudra, very special position of the tongue. And the question is why some traditions and schools of Kriya Yoga, meditation, Navanath Sampradaya, Tantra Sampradaya, they mention, they speak, they preach, they teach Khechari Mudra, and why some other schools and ashrams and traditions, they just keep silence about it, or even, by the way, sometimes even denying necessity of Khechari Mudra. Well, there are quite a number of reasons why people prefer not to mention about Khechari Mudra. And one of that reasons is, okay, if you wish to attract more followers, disciples, students, better not to mention about Khechari Mudra, and much more comfortable for the crowd to say, okay guys, you don't need to think about such a complicated technique like Khechari Mudra, very special position of the tongue, forget about it, you are good boys and girls, you may experience any kind of enlightenment even without this, and then immediately you can manage greater number of students for your workshops. If you say that, I'm sorry guys, but meditation and spirituality, it's not a hobby but a full-time job, then not so many people will, going to be with you for a long time. That's one of the basic reasons. Okay, one of the most difficult question for the Kriya Yoga history is Yogananda Paramahamsa, who came to the United States in 1920, and he actually refused to mention for the public about Khechari Mudra and the importance of Khechari Mudra. And of course, now quite many gurus, Kriya Yoga gurus, they say, oh, okay, Yogananda was wrong. But really he was not wrong, because he came to the United States as a result of, blessings from Mahavatar Babaji and I believe other immortal Mahatmas from Himalayas, and he received certain instruction how he must to teach, to preach, etc. And in the beginning of 20th century, Western people, of course, before Yogananda, Swami Vivekananda came to the West, and before that, Theosophical Society established by Madame Blavatsky also, started this job. But at the same time, general public was not ready even, to meet this information about Khechari Mudra. So Yogananda was right, because he was doing what Mahavatar Babaji told him to do. But now, 21st century, many things totally different, change. Westerners, they are able to practice, all kinds of Hatha Yoga, sit on the floor, manage Khechari Mudra, and the last just 100 years, or maybe 150 years, really transformed Westerners a lot. So we're totally different people. And and now, anyway, it's a simple reason behind not mentioning Khechari Mudra is desire to have a greater number of students, because that's obvious. Another reason is that, some gurus can be, very famous and sometimes even quite powerful. If we'll speak about supernatural power and influence, charisma, etc., but some of them can't manage Khechari Mudra themselves. So, and if, for example, any given guru doesn't know how to practice Khechari Mudra himself or herself, then naturally that gurus prefer to deny or just to avoid mentioning about importance of Khechari Mudra. Well, the same, okay, one more reason is that if a certain person may learn meditation from certain master, and if in that tradition they just traditionally not practicing Khechari Mudra, then okay, this disciple in the course of time become guru himself or herself, and then naturally it's a part of this or that tradition not to practice Khechari Mudra, and they just exist also like that. Anyway, really, yeah.
There is also maybe a reason that teacher in fact don't want to teach Khechari, so that student can't succeed completely in practice and become independent.
Yeah, it's one more kind of painful question. I mean that sometimes gurus, better like many gurus, they wish to really to bring goodness, and so disciple may benefit and become independent, free. But there are many gurus who are not interested to make people free, and there are many gurus and ashrams and traditions, they try to enslave people and to create more followers for the rest of the life. And of course, if the motivation behind what this or that guru is doing is also the huge question, because if we teach Khechari Mudra and if people really can manage it, and by the way, anybody can reach Khechari Mudra in 6 or 8 months, sometimes 1 or 2 years, but it's absolutely available possibility for everyone. Only lazy people can't manage it actually. So it means the question of time, the question of effort is there. And of course, if we teach Khechari Mudra, then people become independent. They become like free yogis themselves, and not each and every tradition is interesting. It's of course for many schools and traditions like much easier not to mention about difficult things and keep disciples in a on the basic level, and manipulate with the people. That's also the point. And maybe I don't want to mention some famous names, and I know about very famous gurus that they know about Khechari Mudra and they practice Khechari Mudra, but they're not speaking about it too much, and it seems that it's just easier to deal with the stupid crowd. And then the question is, what is your approach? How is the approach to the people? If for somebody students can be stupid crowd, then better not to mention Khechari Mudra. Let them like for years visit ashram and just without any real progress. But if you respect your students, then of course much better to speak about what is really essential, and Khechari Mudra is really essential technique. When I speak about Khechari Mudra, I like to mention even next level of philosophy behind that. And if you may practice Khechari Mudra, that special position of the tongue, of course you may let us say, touch huge power which is inside you. You may experience huge divine mystical experiences, but very important is motivation, because you know the very historical fact that the motivation is extremely important to become spiritual seeker, spiritual practitioner, and later on spiritual man, a person, spiritual being. We have concentrate, let us say, almost in our heart on proper motivation, because well, let us imagine that person with egoistic motivation may also practice Khechari Mudra and become very powerful and use, or better to say, misuse that supernatural power for his or her egoistic means. And that is going to be the same Khechari Mudra, but that going to be evil tool, and it may destroy that person and also be harmful for the people around, because as you may imagine, if somebody possesses supernatural power and no almost zero morality, then it's dangerous. By the way, that's also reason why in ancient time great masters, but let me repeat, in ancient time keep it as a secret, because it's like always the problem to whom you give chance to touch huge power. If the person is moral, if the person is with the proper motivation, then okay, you can practice Khechari Mudra. Of course, now 21st century, we have books, we have videos, we have seminars each and every corner. We have internet and a lot of Khechari Mudra is not secret one anymore. And now we have it's difficult for us even to imagine that. Just take end of 20th century, just end of 20th century. Most of the things which are absolutely obvious right now in the 21st century were absolutely secret in the end of 20th century, just few years back. I mean, Khechari Mudra, most of the Kriya Yoga techniques, most of the Bijakshara mantras. It's difficult to imagine, but we live in the reality when huge ancient secrets are just kind of obvious. Go and take it, but not many people are interested, yeah? Okay, and Kriya Yoga meditation is beyond any religion and beyond any ethnic tradition. It can be, you can belong to any ethnic group, you can belong to any religion, doesn't matter, you can practice meditation of Kriya Yoga. But at the same time, because we as the modern Westerners like synthesize different traditions and approaches, I'm always happy to say that Christian and the Buddhist approach is a very useful, because according to the Christian Bible, as you remember, Apostle Paul, with his great letters to the churches, he told to the early Christians that if you don't have love, all the rest meaningless. Even if you have a supernatural power, even if you can heal people or become a kind of prophet, it means nothing in front of Lord God if you don't have love in your heart. Huge, huge message. And of course, when I speak about this Christian approach, let us be realistic, that most of the Christians, they're not live life according to these high-level standards. Yeah, like scriptures separate from the day-to-day life for the most of the Christians. Of course, let us not to create this idealistic picture that Christians are like that. You know, we're supposed to be like that. And the same, the Buddhist tradition, you know, which is emphasized on compassions. Okay, His Holiness Dalai Lama, and as the most famous Buddhist master, of course, he's always keep on, you know, repeating and speaking about importance of compassions. If we take Buddhist scriptures, especially spiritual instructions related to Mahayana Buddhist tradition, yes, compassion is very important. You know, for the Theravada Buddhist tradition, it's not like that. You may practice meditation and experience enlightenment for yourself and forget about all the rest. But for the Mahayana Buddhist tradition, we practice meditation, but how can we be happy in that, you know, blissful meditativeness if people around us suffer a lot because of ignorance? And then compassions. The idea of compassions is starts, and so it means it may sound strange, but it's not strange actually. When we speak about Khechari Mudra, one of the spiritual illusion about Khechari Mudra is that, okay, if I'm able to practice Khechari Mudra, means I'm great yogi, I'm great saint. Well, I mean, if you're able to practice Khechari Mudra, it means that, okay, because of your effort, personal effort, and because of divine grace as well, okay, while practicing Khechari Mudra, you may touch this huge power. So, I mean, Lord God let you to wake this huge power inside you. But it doesn't mean that you're a saint, and it doesn't mean that you're even spiritual person, because to become spiritual, actually we have to stay in a divine motivation of love and compassion, which is extremely important for the Christian and Buddhist tradition. Of course, for all other religious traditions, love and compassion is also important. Yeah, okay, in a Hindu religion, in Islamic religion, in a Jewish religion, in a Sikh religion, in a Jain religion, everywhere, love and compassion. But why I'm speaking about Christian and a Buddhist tradition, because, okay, Jesus the Christ and Buddha Shakyamuni, they really emphasize it in such a way, like greater than in other traditions. That's the reason why we have to be always a little bit Christian, always a little bit Buddhist, while practicing meditation and while practicing Khechari Mudra. Because let us remember that, okay, if you practice Khechari Mudra and you are selfish, egoistic, then, okay, actually the black magic, it's also possible, you know, to become black magician with the help of Khechari Mudra. So that's you know, very important questions behind this. The greatest tool which led us to experience Shakti, power, and we have to know what to do with this Shakti, what to do with this huge cosmic power.